And I want to thank the organizing committee of Mecha who invited me to do this. It's always an honor. And before I say any words about Day of the Dead and a bendición, I want to commend the organizing committee. They've done an amazing, amazing job. This year it was led by Marta Martinez, and she had a whole committee working with her. I don't have all the names, I'm sorry, but they really, really worked very, very hard. And I really want to commend them on that. And I also want to acknowledge Profesora Irene Cervantes, who's not here. She's at another art event on campus, trying to raise funds for the university to fund more of Chicano art. And she also does an incredible job every year, works extremely long hours and extremely hard with the students. And so I want to honor her tonight as well. And this year I want to also acknowledge Professor Marta Gonzalez, who's worked with her students. They've created an amazing sacred space in the back there, como un panteón, and I invite you all to go over there and reflect. And I mean, look around, it's really an amazing event. We have a lot of types of visual arts happening. Most of the work in the house is done by our students. The nichos, the masks, the visual art. We have vendors, a lineup of music, as you know. So enjoy it all. But it's really important, and I'm really glad that Mecha decided to talk about Dia de los Muertos, invite me to talk about it, and also to honor a blessing, because in the midst of all this festivity and fun, it's easy to forget, well, why do we do this? And as many of us know, Dia de los Muertos is really, really becoming part of mainstream American culture, and that's great. But we have to remember how to hold on to its spiritual roots, its deep spiritual and cultural roots. Because this is a very ancient tradition that stems from our ancient indigenous ancestors of Mesoamerica, who had very elaborate days and festivities devoted to honoring their dead. And those festivities and rituals joined with the Spanish Catholic festivities of honoring the dead. So it was a shared tradition, a shared understanding that our dead can still be very active and are still very active in our lives. And can help us and protect us. So that shared understanding came together and was coalesced into the 2 days on the Catholic calendar, November 1st and November 2nd. But let's not forget that it pre-existed Christianity. Again, the festivities in Mesoamerica were very extensive and very elaborate. And so now today that we are very elaborate in our festivities, it makes sense. It's kind of a continuation of that legacy. The most important part of Dia de los Muertos is celebrating life, and we do that through celebrating our dead. And there's a saying in Mexico that there's 3 types of death. The first death is when the person takes their last breath. The second death is when that person is buried or cremated and we no longer have their physical presence. But the third death, and the kind of death that we don't want, is to be forgotten. And that's when no one speaks about us anymore and our lives become just in the distant past. And what Dia de los Muertos does for all of us, regardless if we're Latino or not, is it helps us remember our dead. It gives us permission and encourages us to do that. Because fundamentally, the belief is that the veil between the living, the physical world and the spiritual world is very thin. And during these days, that veil is lifted. And our beloved ancestors have permission to return and to commune with us again. And so everything we lay out for them is in their honor. And we receive back, because those of you who have practiced this tradition from your heart know that in the end you feel a sense of renewal. It's very magical how it happens. But we do become renewed. And bonds are formed, communities are strengthened. You know, all the students working together, their bonds have been fortified through this tradition. And so it's wonderful to see you all here. And with all that, what I'd like to do is offer a blessing that we can all participate in. And to do that, what I invite you to do is, if you're sitting down and if you're able to stand up. And I'm going to ask if you would link arms with the person next to you on the other side. And if you're busy working, selling, whatever, I'm going to ask that we all just stop and take a minute stop to reflect. Preferably a minute of silence, but that might be hard to get. But it's real important that we set our intention for what we're doing tonight. We set our intention about who we want to remember, because we all have different people that we want to remember. And one thing I learned last night at a different celebración for los muertos was that we're all our ancestors. Once our family members, our friends, our close ones die, they become all of our ancestors. And so we're really celebrating our ancestors together, okay? But we have individual names, we have individual stories that we want to honor. And so what I'm going to ask you to do right now is just set your intention about who you want to remember. And it could be more than one person. There's many people I want to remember tonight. Call the name to mind, the names. And then just tell the person next to you who you're remembering. I remember my sister Estela tonight. I remember my parents, Ofelia and Florial. I remember my abuelos, Hermelinda y Silvestre. And so please, I invite you to do that.
People that died.
Okay, so now that you've called their names to mind and shared it with the person next to you, hopefully, we're going to honor the directions, the four cardinal directions, the east, the south, the west, and the north. And that tradition is about calling all the amazing sacred energies that circulate us, that our lives are made up of and supported by, but also call the spirits from each direction, the spirits of our loved ones. Okay, and I have a basket full of cempasúchil, or the marigold, which is the traditional flower for the dead. Because of its bright color, it leads them home. Because of its smell, it's a very strong smell that leads them home. And so I'm going to hold that up to each direction as we turn and face that direction together. Okay, and I have the copal, which is also an ancient form of raising our prayers and our thoughts to the heavens. Okay. And so we're going to start facing the east, which is in front of me and behind you. And then we're going to go clockwise, okay? We're going to turn to the south, which will be to your right, and then the west, another right, and then the north, okay? And then we'll come back full circle, and we'll invite all those ancestors to meet us in the center. As we face the east, the direction of new beginnings, we invite our loved ones who have traveled to the east. We invite them to come and visit with us, to nourish us, to guide us, to tell us what it is we need to know as we travel forward in our lives. So invitamos los espíritus from the east to meet with us. And we turn to the south, el sur, the direction of fire, and we invite the spirits of the south, who are from the south, who have traveled south, and we invite them to return to spend these days with us and these nights. And we turn to the west, the direction of water. We invite all the spirits from the west to return to us. And then we turn to the north, the direction of completion, the direction of air. We invite them from the north. And we return to the center, the point of completion. where all the spirits from all the directions come and meet us. Damos gracias por nuestras vidas. We give thanks for our lives, for all the struggles of our ancestors that have allowed us to be here. And let us not forget that if we stop telling our stories about our loved ones, about our ancestors, about our histories, their lives will fade into the distant past. Pues gracias, and let's have a nice evening together.
It's crazy because back in the day, they would never let this happen. Like, you know, for like Indian American movements were like shut down. So like back in the day, like yeah, and like this because like.
How did everybody like Laras Medina's explanation of Day of the Dead and the blessing? Who liked that? Raise of hands. Very powerful, right? Very empowering. Okay, we're gonna play a little bit more music. Who wants to dance? Who wants to like live the night tonight? Raise your hand. Come on, y'all need to be more alive. I'm gonna ask again. Who wants to dance? Thank you. So right now we're gonna have a little bit of music. DJ, hit it.
This is cool.